Yeah, okay, let's get to the wife of Bath. We're having too much fun. God, you
Did we
guys.
just talk it to death already?
No, in fact, we haven't even talked about the tale. Like, all we talked about was the prologue. We never even addressed anything that happened in her tale, which was completely weird given the prologue that we got. I mean, like, it's like, wait, what is her tale? It almost makes no sense. So I think it's important that we do talk about, especially considering, and now I know this is a very nitpicky thing to mention, but considering that this is British literature, and that we would talk about the literature in the class. I know it's a strange, like, little nitpicky thing, but I know it's one of the things that I feel like is important to cover is the subject of the course. Yeah, it's a little weird, but I understand. I should mention. It's really funny. I just realized just now that we never had the chance for like an Emily/TJ standoff because TJ hasn't been here this week. But TJ's post was like, I really like how she interprets marriage from scripture. And Emily was like, I really disagree with her scriptural interpretation of marriage. That would have been like a very interesting conversation. I just realized, I just looked at this and went, wait a minute, didn't we just talk about last time how the opposite of this? It's kind of funny. So Michaela brought up that she could not believe that Mr. Knight got a happy ending. And that generally is something I also like to focus on.
Of course you do.
Well, I mean, look at it, right? You were talking about... Golly. Unbelievable. I didn't even think about that. I wrote, like...
Well, it was the way you said it, sorry.
Usually I notice those sorts of things, and I actually kind of feel strange that I didn't. I was just like, oh, how did I miss that? Wording. For those who don't remember the tale, let's recount it just real quick. We have this very empowering wife of Bath. I can have sex and enjoy it too. I can have husbands, and as long as I fulfill my duties to them, after they die, completely biblical, I can marry another, and I'm finally married for love. And I've manipulated him too, and I'll continue to manipulate everybody. The very Stanley Hudson response of, and I'll do the next wife too. Yeah,
came on last night.
It did.
Because I had it in the background, and I just heard that one line, and I was like,
you're like, we talked about this. This was the subject of our discussion. And then we have this whole thing about how she feels like, women should have some measure of control in their own world. And then we get this tale. And she's like, there once was a knight, and he rapes a maiden.
What?
And then
He killed her.
just a rape, not a kill. A very unimportant rape. I'm speaking from this perspective of the story here, not my own. Because that's how it... Well, the weird thing about it, though, is it sounds like an unimportant rape, right, at first, or it sort of does a little bit, or it doesn't seem like it's going to be. It's like it says, okay, so we're going to, execute you. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, okay, how about this? You tell us what all women want in a year. Was it a year he got?
Yeah, kind of like.
It's always the magical year of, all these stories. What? Kind of like what?
Kind of like
Sir Gawain? Yeah. In 1 year. It's always a game with a year involved. It's a long damn time. I'd be like, if it was anything like some of my students, they'd be like, oh crap, when was that due? Oh crap, I gotta go talk to all the ladies in the kingdom. It's in 6 hours. It's over tomorrow. What do all women want? Hobby Lobby? No, sorry, that's incorrect. Sorry, I'm just going off of what my wife wants. That was not meant to represent all women. It's just to me, my wife is all women. So.
What did you say?
Huh?
What was the word you said?
They had a very large...
Hobby Lobby.
Oh, I thought you said hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin. You're like, why would women want hobgoblins? Doesn't make any sense. No, I said Hobby Lobby, and I said it, I was just extrapolating what my wife wants to all women. Not that what all women want is the same as what my wife wants. It's just that to me, my wife is the world. She's the only woman. So that's why I extrapolated to everybody else. You're right.
Hobby Lobby is good though. No, it smells good. Just like that.
I do like Hobby Lobby.
Going in
I
there,
hate it.
I feel happy.
There's even stuff for dudes to do there if you can let your wife let you go. There's little dinosaurs
There's like a whole like wall.
like woodworking stuff. There's all kinds of fun things.
All the manly stuff.
I know there's furniture you might want to decorate your man cave with, like little frilly things and like doilies and stuff. There's really pretty stuff you can deck your man cave out with.
It says man cave on it.
Literally said yes. I actually got the little sign that I have in my room now, which y'all haven't seen, but I have a new sign in my room that it's the only sign of decoration I have in my room. And it's hanging on one of those hooks on the whiteboard. But it says, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And I've never seen a sign at Hobby Lobby encapsulate who I am more than that sign. It's how I approach just about everything. Somebody once asked me, like, if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be? And I was like, a bit much. Because that kind of, I'd say that fits the bill. So this tale, Knight, seemingly, he's got a year to figure this out. He goes, he's looking, he's getting very sad. It's like not really finding this out. Suddenly, this old hag pops up. She's like, I'll tell you what you women want. I'll tell you. And he's like, oh gosh, all right, what? Okay, well, what is it? He's like, well, you gotta promise you'll do anything. Well, you gotta promise you'll do anything for me. I gotta imagine she's got a terrible, terrible sounding voice. And she's gotta have one. She's gotta have one. It's gotta be atrocious too. Maybe even like a really like kind of Cockney accent. Oh, you gotta promise to do whatever I want. Gotta do anything I want from you. You little night boy. You gonna be me, bitch. That's how she would talk, because she's very crass. He's like, you're really gonna tell me what? Yeah, you gotta promise to do anything you want for me. Anything I want from you. And he's like, oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I don't want to die, so whatever. And so she's like, and so he shows up to the thing, and it's like, what do women want? He's like, sovereignty over their homes and husbands. Anybody disagree? You're good. Yes. McQueen! Oh crap, what's she gonna say? He promised me anything I want! Oh no. What is she gonna say? I want him as my husband! Oh, damn it. Damn it. Woe is me. Man who was going to be executed for raping a girl. Oh my gosh, now I've got to marry this old lady. So horrible. Gets him home and she's like, you can have me beautiful, but I won't be faithful. I'll cheat on you. Or you can have me ugly, and I'll be faithful. I won't cheat on you. And he's like, you know what? Whatever the hell you want. Just whatever. That's the right answer. Now I shall be beautiful and faithful. And the accent goes away, and she gets sexy. And happily ever after, live the knight who once raped yon maiden. What the hell is this tale? And I've wondered, what is Chaucer trying to tell us something?
Is there a message in here?
It's so hard because, with a lot of poems, we just get the poem and that's the experience of the author. We feel like, okay, well, this author, that's what he wants us to get. In this case, we're given a woman, which we know Chaucer's not a woman. He's trying to inhabit the female experience. He has her tell a tale, so he's got decisions for her telling a tale. In the story also, the characters interact with each other, so the wife of Bath interacts with all the other characters, and they have things that they say to her. So he envisioned a world. So is the tale what he's wanting us to understand about humanity, or is he just trying to tell us what he thinks the wife of Bath understands about humanity? And we look at this and we go, my gosh, the knight getting this fantasy ending. Why? He's just a rapist. He was gonna be killed, and then he's kind of petulant, or not petulant, that's not the right word. He's a brat on top of that, because he's like, oh my gosh, I have to marry this old hag. Ugh. You just didn't get murdered for raping a girl. Why are you complaining? And then honestly, some people have read it as, oh, well, when he gets to the point, he really understands the what women want thing. And I've always taken it less of oh, my wife, whatever thine must want, I will allow thou to make the decision. Because that's, sovereignty, that's what I always took it as more what does my decision matter? Either you're going to cheat on me as a beautiful woman, or you're going to like be ugly and somebody I wouldn't want to sleep with anyway. Like, both are horrible options. You pick. And she says, that's the right answer, letting me pick. And he's like, oh, awesome. Kind of lucked into that one. You know, he like ended up accidentally like falling into the right decision, and you know, he ends up getting like everything somebody would want. He's not even repentant. I think that's the problem that really gets me. He doesn't even apologize for what he's done. He doesn't feel bad. I never got the sense that this dude feels bad about what he's done at all.
Have you ever seen the
And he wins.
show Archer?
I have not. I think I watched maybe a half of one episode, but it's just.
Knight reminds me exactly of the character Archer. He doesn't give two shits about anything that he does, and it always works out for him.
Oh, really?
Like, always.
That actually sounds like a fun show to watch.
It's hilarious.
My
It's
friend's
it's very crude.
sarcastic
My
humor.
friend's brother is a creator in that.
Really?
I do like all the Archer memes I see, so you know,
It's like the
Probably
driest
translates.
humor you can get.
driest humor, and I like dry humor.
Do you want ants?
Although weirdly enough,
You get ants.
liking sarcasm a lot myself, I'm not very good at detecting it. I've always found that very strange. Like I love sarcasm, love dry humor, but I'm very bad often at detecting dry humor. I'm like, oh, that's cruel. You can't say that. It's like I was joking. You were? Oh, couldn't even tell.
Do you watch Bob's Burgers?
Is that sarcasm?
No, that's like
Oh, it's a real question. Oh,
the TV show.
Yeah, the cartoon made by the creators of Family Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't watch that show.
Oh my god,
Bob is
that's awesome.
Archer.
I don't know. I find the little girl
And
annoying. Just a little
same
girl.
voice
No,
as
she's
Archer.
awesome.
You know, I don't like that. I don't really like burgers, so I don't watch that show. Just like I don't really watch Friends because I don't like coffee, so it's hard to watch. And I don't watch The Office because I don't like ice cream sandwiches. That really only references one episode where they ate
One
ice cream
episode.
sandwiches. Yeah, I don't like pizza. That was a fun episode.
I don't like random objects being placed in Jello.
There you go. That's what I should have said. Right.
You actually not like coffee.
What?
You actually not like coffee.
I actually don't like coffee, but I don't like coffee to the point where I won't watch a show that includes it. What I really don't like is rapists getting away with stuff. And this isn't even like, I mean, this is beyond Brock Turner what's happening here. This is bad. I mean, this is like Trump level bad. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say. I was talking about the things he's admitted, like we have the tapes, right, of the things he's done, which kind of qualify as sexual assault, you know, when you think about it as a human. He's like, you can do whatever you want. You can touch anybody however you want. He's on recording saying this. And you could be like, that's a very good impersonator in the background who's also doing Billy Bush. Like, I don't know. It's very hard for me to believe that. You know, just not great stuff. But it's kind of like everything just sort of worked out for him tonight. Everything. Happy-go-lucky. There we go. Maybe this will fit for you better. Bill Clinton. Although that was supposedly consensual. But he was in a position of power, so it's like a teacher doing it. You know? That's the problem people have with like teachers and students. Why do they always make shows about it then? Riverdale. Dawson's Creek. You know, like teachers having a relationship with students, it's always a thing that's on shows, and they always glorify it. But then it's illegal in like every single state. And in some, like I think even Texas, it's a felony. Even if the person's 18. Did you know that? Like if a Texas teacher gets in a relationship with a student, if the student is 18 even, it's a felony.
For good reason.
Right, because you're in a position of power over somebody.
One of my coworkers' brothers, I didn't find out until like literally years past it, and she was just so casual about it. She's like, yeah, my brother like had an affair with his teacher for like 5 years in high school, and I was like, what?
Well, first of all, she's taking advantage of that situation because if he had an affair with her for 5 years in high school, he's already not a great student, so she's taking advantage of somebody who's not capable of doing well in high school.
And like their parents somewhat knew about it, and they just didn't. They were like, well, it's their own thing. He can deal with it himself. And I was like, what?
Did you see the look of shock just slowly go
That's
across
how-
his face?
She was so casual about it, and I was like, well, what?
I actually
Do I have to
had
call
a coach once that I had heard like rumors about, but he was like friends with my parents, you know what I mean? Like, and I had to have a knee surgery, and he had told my parents, don't worry about it, I'll take her to the doctor. And So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, red flag, hello. And so my parents let me go, and like the whole way, like he kept reaching over and like tapping my leg and like hugging me and just, I mean, just like so creepy. And I thought, I guess the rumors are true. And as soon as we got out of the car, I like, see ya, and I like went in and told my dad, I'm like, yeah, he sleeps with students. Like it's pretty. And my dad's like, what happened? And so my dad like went over to his house and was like, if you ever touch my daughter again, he was like, like hopping into the house.
That is some icky stuff.
But he never got caught.
Here's the weird thing, and I think one of the reasons that it still makes its way into like TV shows and stuff for whatever reason, it doesn't matter how progressive we seem to be getting as a society, that weird fantasy of like the powerful male figure or powerful female figure in a position of power, like doing like, I don't know, starting a relationship with somebody who is subject to their power, in essence showing that like I guess the relationship can cross power lines. So like, I don't know, maybe the teacher thing, maybe because they made it illegal, some teachers are like, look, I'm willing to put myself on the line for you, and then the person's like, wow, I really appreciate that, you respect me as a person. But it really is like an abuse of power. That's what it is. It's like you're in a position of power over somebody, and then you're abusing that power. But I don't know why that even like in the Monica Lewinsky situation, I would argue that it very well could have even been considered like a form of sexual assault or rape, even though she claims it was consensual, because what are you supposed to say to the President of the United States? I mean, you
like
might just
20,
convince yourself
she was like 20 years
that,
old.
yes, this is something I want, just because he's in that position of power.
I mean, like, what can she do? Like, he's like the most powerful man.
So it might have been a scenario where it's like Wife of Bath, where she's like, I'm a 12-year-old, I'm marrying this old guy, but yeah, I want sex, because what else are you supposed to do? Just succumb to the fact that life sucks every day? And she might do that, but I don't know. Like, I feel like there's weird sexist stuff in society. And if you look at it, there's a lot of girls that you still ask to this day. Like, if you just look at the way people, when they date each other, girls very rarely will want to date a guy that's shorter than them. And I think that somehow has to deal with this sort of innate, like, women want a man to seem stronger for some reason. And I don't know, I feel like it's an innate biological thing that women are still having trouble getting over and men are still having trouble letting go of, that's still just in there. And like, I think that's why there's like the teacher scenarios, their fantasies, and like the president scenarios, their fantasies, and like this, I feel like when she tells this tale, what she's thinking is, I went to the Goodwill and I found a bargain knight on the shelf. Like, I can get a knight on the cheap. He raped some chick. That sucks for him. But he's kind of down and out, and I can get him cheap. He's a knight. He's like marrying a knight. I mean, it's like marrying, like, I don't know, like a general in the army or something. Like he's some, like a general. That's really high. Like, I don't know, colonel or something. Like, he's got some status, even if he's done a bad thing. So it's kind of like, you get like, oh, it's like buying a really nice house that somebody happened to be murdered in. Because people are just weird about that sort of thing. It's like a very upstanding neighborhood, super good neighborhood, but everybody knows about this murder that happened. And people are like, oh, but like ghosts, and oh, but like, you're like, this is a really nice neighborhood. That was an anomaly. I can get this house super cheap. And somebody else like puts a bid on it. You're like, that some guy got murdered there though, right? And you're like, all right, I got this house for like $100,000. It's like a $250,000 house because nobody wants it because of the murder. Yes. And I feel like that's how she's thinking about this knight. She's like, I get this knight super duper cheap. But like, she must have known she had the magic powers the whole time. So maybe she's just holding off on the magic powers until she can,
Use them to get a knight.
I don't know, use them to get something of value. Like, you're like, I don't want to win the battles. I got to make sure I win the war. So she's like, I got me a knight. I have status now. Like somebody decides they've got to marry somebody rich that's not that great to marry. And maybe that's sort of how she's thinking of it too. She's like, you know what? I'm going to put up with this old guy, not a great old guy, but he's got a lot of money. And I'm 12 years old. I need a future, so I'm just going to deal with it.
Do you not think it's odd, though, that she never had kids?
Who, the wife?
Yeah, the wife.
Well,
I don't know how much of intentional that was.
Well, and the thing is, if she's with the elder men, they could be impotent at that point. And
Yeah.
They just don't.
The young guy may be the first guy she's had that is fertile.
But I just thought it was odd, though, that she was married that many times.
I had no
and
kids.
she was talking about how much she loves to have sex and has it all the time, but yet she has no children. So
I mean, maybe they just
I thought
mentioned
Maybe she
that was
forced
kind
a
of a.
miscarriage.
Maybe, I don't know.
I just thought that was an odd thing that they never mentioned that. They never mentioned, like,
Why she doesn't have
maybe
children.
that's part of the reason she fed her addiction. She was like, oh, I'm not getting pregnant.
yeah.
I can just keep going.
Let's just keep this going. Yeah, I don't know,
I
but
guess I'm
to
the only
me,
one.
I've always viewed this as a very infuriating ending, where I'm super duper pissed that the knight rapes the girl and more or less gets rewarded for it.
That's what I thought.
Which is every time I look at this, I'm looking at the male perspective of this. Like, but again, is that us being sexist and focusing on what the man is getting out of this? Should we more be focusing on what is this woman getting out of it? She's getting a knight very cheaply.
Yeah,
So
but
while
she-
it is repulsive because of he raped a girl, she gets this guy that she wouldn't normally be able to get, and somehow as a result of the magic, she also gets to be young again, which everybody wants. So she gets to be young again. She gets a knight. He's going to do whatever she says, and it didn't really cost her that much. And maybe that's what the wife of Bath is trying to do, is contextualize this within her own experience of things worked out pretty well for me, despite.
The way I see it, this lady, she's a witch. I mean, she can kind of get whoever she wants. Like, I guess the so-called price of the man isn't that important to her. I think what she's doing is like, she wants to get a man who's going to submit to her, and who's going to listen and do what she says. And so she does this whole old woman scheme thing to kind of train him to listen to her and do what she says. And then whenever she kind of rewards him whenever he gives her that answer of, saying like, I'll let you make the decision, you think. And she rewards him by, giving him the best of both worlds. But she's really setting a precedent, saying like, she's in control, she's going to make the decisions now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if he ends up changing and going against that, like she owns him. She's got him. She has control over him. She can, like, anything that, if he wants to suddenly change his mind and say, I'm not going to do that anymore, like, I'm not going to be part of your game, she can be like, okay, I'll just take you back to Guinevere and say, execute him. I don't care. She kind of owns him. It's kind of what the wife of Bath did to every husband she had eventually. The old men, they were old, she just had sex with them, whatever. But the other guy, she makes up this story about him cheating so that he'll be and so she can manipulate him in that scenario. And the same thing with the most recent husband. She gets him to burn his book and says, I'm going to tell people you're the reason I'm deaf. No. So she kind of is the old hag in the scenario where, yeah, it's like you say, it's like she's got control over him. He gives the right answer, but she just had to get him to understand that she's the reason he is alive. She's the reason he could die. If he doesn't do what she says, it's all over for him. So she kind of gets exactly what she wants.
Maybe she's using it as revenge for the girl who raped.
I don't know. I don't think that. And some people have also argued that maybe the girl he raped is her and she's in disguise and it's kind of Shakespearean. She's like, I'll get you. You want to rape me? Fine, I'll make you my husband. Because that makes it kind of biblical in a sense, because whoever you first have sex with is your actual husband. According to her very first things she was saying, that verse was when Jesus was having that discussion. Is like, you've had 5 husbands, that's not okay. You're supposed to be with the first person you have sex with. And the old hag, if that is actually the one that he raped, that ends up being the case. I feel like that's wanting it to work out too well. And also I've wondered, are we even supposed to think that the wife of Bath is a good tale teller? Or is he intentionally writing people that are telling not the perfect tales? I feel like when we get to the tale, we're like, Chaucer, he's writing us these little individual tales. But what if he's really just having the characters as he's written them craft these tales so that they're supposed to have deficiencies, they're supposed to have problems, and we're supposed to find fault with it? Because they're characters making stories, and they're gonna do a poor job.
So like the wife of Bath, being a stronger female character herself, would have a stronger view of other strong women.
Yeah.
She's telling the view.
And she's like, forget what the guy's doing. I don't care about what the guy's doing. I got control of him. That's the point. You're focusing on the wrong thing. Like, I wonder if there would have been a discussion after this tale where somebody's like, oh, but you're gonna let the rapist get away with it? She's like, Look at you, always focusing on the man. Look what she got out of it. She got a knight. She got a man of high class. She got control. If he says no to anything she says, kick him to the curb. You know, who cares? And like they'd be like, I guess, but he like raped a girl. Like, you know, like I feel like they'd all focus like we are, and we want to, and we think it's a good thing to focus on that because it's messed up.
Where does it say that he raped somebody? Because I thought when I was reading it, it
There
was
we go.
like he rides in on a horse and just like cuts a girl's head off or something. That's what I thought I read.
Cuts a girl's head off.
Read.
Wait, maybe when you said cuts a girl's head off, I believe it says he takes her maidenhead, which is a word for her virginity. Is that maybe what you were thinking, like her head got cut off? I was like, took the maiden's head. Oh my gosh. But that's like their word for like virgin. So let me make sure here, because now I want to make sure that she actually does get maiden straight away. By utter force, he took away her maidenhead. That's probably, you just thought like literally took the maiden's head, because it says, saw a maiden walking before him, of which maiden straightway, despite all she could do by utter force, he took away her maiden head. And you're like, my gosh, how horrible. Yeah, I can see now by that, you would be like, he just straight up murdered somebody, and like he's not even having to answer. Who are you? Rip your head off.
It doesn't help that after that it says, for which wrong was such clamor and such demanded for justice unto King Arthur. So I mean, you're gonna.
That this knight was condemned to be dead. Yeah.
So you're gonna think, oh well, maybe
This has got to be a really bad thing. And I don't know, maybe a lot of us think that.
No, I saw that was one word, so I was like, what does this mean? So I typed it into Google.
Did a lot of us think that kind of like back in the day, like maybe rape wasn't as bad a thing to them? Like I saw this and I see, okay, well she gets raped and he was maybe going to be put to death for it. I was like, oh, so they thought it was bad. And that's, I think, what infuriates me about the end of the story too, is knowing that it's bad, that he would have been put to death, he ends up getting everything he would have wanted out of life anyway. And that's kind of what bothers me.
No, rape wasn't considered bad. What they considered bad was if the knight raped the woman and she became pregnant with his child. That's what they considered bad.
And see, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what degree of badness there was of
He was
this.
also a man and a knight, just distinguished.
He was supposed to be honorable.
Well, no, I mean the fact that he was considered honorable means that like a slap on the wrist, probably more than an execution.
Although it's posed as though that's what was going to happen. He was going to be executed.
Maybe he wasn't that good of a knight.
Well, that's
Because of the raping.
maybe because it's the wife of Bath's view on the story. Like she would want like a more of an outstanding punishment.
Or maybe
No,
the
rather
maiden
than
was
just like
high in
a-
power. Like
Well,
maybe
who?
she, what is it called, court? Maybe she was a daughter of one of the courtsmen.
I mean, she was
And
at
that was
court,
why
and I don't
he
think
was
just
being
anybody could show up
executed.
at court, so...
What I'm saying, what if she was a higher
Oh, the
power?
maiden, I see.
Yeah. And that's why they were going to execute him.
I don't know, it doesn't act like she's anybody important. It just says he saw a maiden, and it took her maidenhead, and then that was it. And she's not even dead. Which is the kind of weird thing to me, because if she's not dead, you see, like, she disappears from the story. There's never any attempt made to make up for the fact of this girl that she got raped. Like, she's literally just, that's what I think is partly again so infuriating. She's raped and then becomes nothing in the story. Like what happens to her? Is she okay?
Yeah.
Who knows? She's just a plot point. And now that she's been pointed on the plot, she's done. Which is, again, infuriating. And it's like, to what degree do we hold Chaucer accountable to this, or what degree we just hold the wife of Bath accountable for this, for telling this story? Are we even reading it in the way that we're supposed to be reading it? I love just the complexities of thought here. Like, we don't know to what degree we should blame her,
Well, when I
blame
started reading
Chaucer.
it, I'm like, I don't understand any of this. So, like, I would read, and then I would, like, reread, and then I would, like, go search the web for, like, okay, what does this mean? What does that mean? Like, trying to, like, figure out, like, how it all fit in. Like, it takes me forever to read these stories.
Were you reading this in the original text the whole time?
Gibberish.
Just the English. You were reading the plain English and still just looking some stuff. Yeah.
Still just looking stuff up because it still doesn't make, like, all the, I mean,
All
it doesn't,
sense.
yeah, it doesn't flow evenly. And it just seems like that can't be right. Like, why would they do that? But But it seems like all these stories are like that. They're all just kind of off the wall. Not like normal stuff that we read in comp 2.
You mean like all of the stuff like Beowulf, Sir Gawain, everything so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all just seem like.
I mean, I do think that as time has progressed, we've gotten better at telling stories.
Or just translating them, because I mean, who knows what original language is.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like when you watch a Pixar movie, they put so much thought and effort and money into that movie, and then it turns out it's really good. Usually, like they're very good at crafting good stories. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe too, like we feel like the characters are well developed and all that kind of stuff, and so like they're good stories. And we get this old stuff where like plot almost seemed not always to be what you would want out of it, and sometimes people get wordy and they talk a long time, and you're like, is this person going on like a long monologue for some reason? And like why? And like I don't know. It comes across as, I guess, very literary when we're reading this stuff, and not so much like stuff we're necessarily meant to always enjoy. So it's kind of, yeah, I see what you mean. Like you got to look up a lot of stuff because sometimes, I mean, you don't even know like to what degree it even wants us to think that this is entertainment. Although I don't know if that's necessarily where you're going with it, but that's kind of where I went with it.
It's also the audience's metaphor.
Yeah, and who was the intended audience? This would have been. It wouldn't have been read at court because this was a French-English kind of. This was almost like leaning too high on the side of English, to where he couldn't really present this to many people. There weren't many people who were going to be reading literary works in English. There wasn't really a market for that at the time. May have written it, but.
When was this written? Sort of supposed to like take place?
When was it supposed to take place?
Or like written.
Around the same time as Sir Gawain, actually. Like it was written around 1350s, 1300s, 1370s, early 1400s.
People who couldn't read either.
Yeah. It's almost like he was writing it in a way for himself. But as soon as it was, I mean, people started reading it, it became I think because of the structural things that came before, it became a hit almost immediately. Or like it became something that people started reading and talking about almost immediately. Unlike Sir Gawain, which took a while. But Sir Gawain was a self-contained story. Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is modeled after things like Boccaccio's Decameron. So like there was already kind of a precedent for this group of people telling various stories. That his was sort of like the English answer, or partly English answer to it. It's almost like he took it on as a challenge too, because English is not a Romance language. It does have some Latin base, but it's like a huge like mutt of different languages, and the rhymes aren't always easy. But I mean, have you ever tried like rhyming in Spanish? Almost everything in Spanish rhymes. Like all the words rhyme with each other. Like if you were to, it almost be like the rhyming dictionary would be absurd. It'd be like, oh, is there any words that rhyme with this? It'd be like you just open the page and it's like, duh. There's tons of stuff that rhymes with this. Use your brain, you idiot. Where us on the other side, we're like, blah 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 something purple. How do I rhyme purple? Oh, I can't do that. It's not possible. Orange. I don't know. Well, I mean, you could do the old joke where it's like, orange, you glad I didn't say banana again, but that's cheating. So some people think that he was specifically writing in this sort of English-French hybrid thing to sort of test the limits of his abilities with rhyme. And he does rhyme fairly well throughout, despite the limitations of the English language. He's having to use a lot of single-syllable words that are rhyming. But like, why this, and why does this end up being persistent? Probably because of its matching to other stuff, but in just like a new language, new form. I don't know if that was even a question. I just said a lot of things. Was there a question I didn't answer?
Do you want to ask a question?
I don't know. It's probably just me talking.
I think you just started going.
At the end, I do a monologue and I go, "Does that answer your question?" And you're like, "Where? What question?"
I forget the name of the person. Cartographer. We need a cartographer in the back, just like.
Like she left, she was bored. She got tired of your.
And he's like, "I'm still here."
I'm really tired of sitting. I'm over here doing like jumping jacks. Like,
Well, I do appreciate you doing the jumping jacks off camera because that would be very distracting. We're like, is that someone jumping on the camera? I had another student last semester, and he would just, because it does get very tiring just sitting, he would like stand up and just walk around the room in a circle. But he would do that on camera, so we were always like, what's happening? Where is he going? They're like, what is he doing? It was always very interesting.
She's in there by herself.
Yeah.
And just being by yourself sometimes too can like be physically exhausting.
I'm surprised you don't bring like a tennis ball and just start bouncing around. This,
Yeah, it's really boring.
Except for me, because we're interesting over here, right?
Yeah, y'all aren't boring, but like,
Look at this. She's like, y'all aren't boring. Hold on, let me stretch.
It's an impressive stretch, I will admit.
can't
I can
do
sometimes
that
touch my
sitting
foot.
down.
Like if I try to touch my foot, I can do it. But I gotta really want it. And she's like holding on to. I'm not even talking about behind my head. I'm talking right now in this current position I'm sitting in where my leg is. It's just really far away. I don't know if I can do it.
You're also leaning back.
Yeah, but so yes, Emily's still here. Nobody has to worry. I assumed, by the way, you got up and didn't grab anything. I was like, she's not leaving. Unless she's just fully prepared to leave at any moment. She's like, I'm out. I'm going.
I mean, some people have bug out bags in their car.
Emily, it'd be really funny if you actually made like a doll of yourself, and like anytime you're like, I just gotta get out of here, you just leave it behind.
You can't see her face.
I know, because like on our end, you're like in shadow, so like we see like the silhouette of you, and occasionally when you turn just right in the light, we can see your face. Yeah, it's like you said. See, the closer you get, like even then, it's just this dark silhouette because of the way the lighting in the room is. She's like, I'm gonna move the camera. You will see me.
Maybe if you turn the other lights on.
I know there's that light, and I think the reason they have that light turned off is because I've heard this problem before. Is like the light washes everything out, so then you can't see anything because there's too much light. So they took the bulb out of that thing so it would work.
She said, hold on, let me
Oh wait, she could just like start flipping the switches.
Whoa.
Oh no, wait. So you can turn that light on? Oh wow, it's Emily. It's nice to meet you, Emily. We've never seen you before. Look at this. Now we have a face for our Friends enthusiast. It's amazing. It's nice to meet you. This is us.
Yeah, she sees plenty.
Oh my god.
And that was me.
Scary.
Wow, every day if the lights are switched, you just do that. That's crazy. We can actually see it.
Can you see the
You wouldn't believe the difference. I mean, look behind you. Can you tell like the difference now in the way that looks the room looks like you can tell everything. Like you're like my hair exists. You used to just be like this ghost image of yourself. That was really funny. I don't know if you meant to do that, but like you did this like turn. You went. And it looked like you did it on like a model turn. It was really funny. Back to it. Back to Wife of Bath. I'm sorry, I get distracted.
She's like, back to jumping.
She's like, back to jumping jacks. So, and she's like, let's switch it back. She's like, I don't want to be seen anymore. That's actually it creeped me out, guys. I'm gonna go back to my old setup. So, she's like, I don't want my facial expressions shown because like when I express abject boredom, it's gonna be like seeable. Which I totally get, to be honest. Watching on a TV, it's just, let's be honest, it's not as fun watching on a TV as it is being there. Because I'm really interesting.
I had Mason last spring.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say, and she was just a lot better at it than you are. Which I can believe.
I have her this semester and I had her last semester. And hers is way worse than this.
Yay!
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I hate to be self-serving, but that made me excited. I was like, yes!
I mean, ITV is bad regardless, but like, hers was probably the worst that I had. I didn't even pay attention in that class.
Ever? Was it more lecture style, or?
There was a lot of lectures, but it was really laggy, and I think it's just the system that she used. You couldn't see shit. She tries to play videos.
Oh.
And you can't play videos over ITV because there's that like
like a
momentary
strong
lag every once in a
Yeah.
while where you'll hear people talking, but you see the same photo for like
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Literally, with like later in the semester when I talk about how to do the presentation, y'all know I have that presentation video, those who are familiar with it. What I generally do is like I send like Emily the link to the video and say like watch this video while we're gonna be watching it over here, and then like we reconvene after you've watched it separately, because you can't show videos on ITV. It just doesn't work. Like you can't. We really have to think of this kind of classroom as completely different than any other classroom you teach in, because they don't work the same.
Yeah.
And I have to be thinking like over on the other end, Emily can kind of hear my voice. She has to decide, do I want to talk? Because if I talk, there's going to be a 3-second delay. It's them figuring out when I say something, contemplating like, wait, what? Okay, hold on, everybody stop. Emily's talking, Emily. And then like, she's like, it's going to be an ordeal, so I got to wait till the moments when I really want to speak. And I remember that because I did the same thing whenever I go to a meeting and like I'm in an ITV meeting, like I'm on this campus and everybody else is in Paris. And I just got to be like, man, I got to choose my battles here. Because they're going to be like, there's always that moment too where everybody goes, so like you can kind of see my face. You can't see my face, but Emily could. Like everybody kind of they're talking like la la, and then you say something. And what? Yeah, yes. And again, I don't know. I feel like there's always that feeling that you're gonna be the one making everybody stop and go, oh, what? What's happening? Oh, right. There's somebody on the other campus. Luckily, I'm sitting here, and I always see Emily's like right there, and I never forget. But it's I can see it could be easy to have, and you've got to have the methods right. You've got to have like. Which is why I feel like the only way this class really works, the Brit Lit class, is not to show a bunch of videos, but just to like kind of treat it as like a discussion course. It's the only way it can work. Otherwise, I don't even know how they teach like things like math.
Well, it's like
good
you were
lord.
saying earlier with the fucking. Oh, sorry. The one time I'm gonna.
There are no F words on Friends or The Office, Jeff.
Anyway.
Although both of them have F in it.
The astronomy class, the stars and galaxies, is on
Yeah.
ITV as well,
Yes.
and some of us just got out of there, you know, and it's terrible
It's
as well.
They're like,
Yeah,
That's all
and
you
like
can hear happen.
every once in a while we'll be
That's all
watching
you
it, and you'll just hear like random 90s robot voice.
Yeah, and you're like, what did he say?
Even when it is.
We are
it's like,
talking
I fall
about-
asleep. Like, I don't like to fall asleep, but it's just like.
Yeah, it's so
That means
humdrum,
he's
and you're
got
just like he's not.
and he's got like 45 people here, 45 people there, and 45 people out in Sulphur Springs, so it's just huge.
So it's like an entire star field unto itself.
Yes.
It's like the stars.
No.
They're like across the whole galaxy. There's
No,
We're
and
like not even a speck.
and what happens is, unlike sweet Emily who stays in her seat
And quiet.
and quiet, people will get up and just start walking out of class.
Yeah, I don't know who he is, but there's a guy that sits right behind me. As soon as the guy starts talking, he gets up, he'll leave his stuff, but he'll leave the class and he won't come in for like 5 minutes until the class is over, and I'm like,
No, there's just.
I have this one student, and like she'll get like phone calls, and she always steps out and like answers the phone calls,
I
and then
know,
comes
it's
back
so
in.
freaking-
Oh wait, I'm sorry, that wasn't. I forgot that's in this class. I'm just kidding. It happens to me like every parent I have ends up having to leave the class and like have discuss. It's just a parent thing. It's like I don't get worked up about it. I never have. Like
Well, that stuff doesn't bother me.
what I get worried about is I have like my 18-year-old student gets up and is constantly like, hold on, I gotta take this.
Like,
No,
wait a minute.
and I like go and listen out the door, and they're like, yeah, you would not believe what he's saying. I'm like, oh my god, this isn't important at all. Huh.
I've
No,
never
that
done an
doesn't-
interview, so that's why I had to do that today twice.
What now?
I
Oh,
was
you have
doing an interview
interviews?
for a job
You did it in this
that-
class?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't remember that. I'm really bad at noticing.
When the girls behind me don't agree with what the professor's saying,
Mhm.
they'll start talking about it.
Oh yeah.
Like the other day, he was like, astrology is not real. It's not a real science. Astronomy is, and they're like, well, you know, astrology is amazing. I go to that every day, and he's never wrong. And I'm just like, shut the fuck.
No comment. I shouldn't. I don't know if I would offend anybody with my astrology thoughts, so I'm just not gonna say anything.
But it's
Or
bad.
or healing crystals.
It's bad when I think someone needs to shut
What was
up.
that, Emily?
I said I always have to make sure the mic is like muted in here, cause like I'll just be humming or doing my own thing, like I don't know, maybe like watching a video.
And then you're like-
and like I'm just like, what if they can hear me? And like last time we were in class, I guess on Tuesday, I was like, can you gargle gum? Like I was so bored, and so like I sat here and tried to gargle my gum, and I was like, oh my god, what if they heard that? It sounds like a turkey.
There was one time in Sulphur Springs that there were two.
Happened to Sulphur Springs.
Yeah, there was one time over in Sulphur Springs that two people, we came into class and they didn't have me muted, but you could tell they thought they did. And I was trying to be super clear to the students. I was like, do not let them know. Like, don't let them know that it's me. And they started like talking about like I think it was like one time they're like, so when are we gonna do this quiz? I don't know, after class. You want to sit and do it together? Yeah, we'll do it together. And I was just like, nobody say anything. They were like, wait, what? Do y'all not know that you're unmuted? And I was like, shut up. And they were like, what? And they was like, yeah, like what? Oh no, what? No, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, what are you talking about? And like, how did you hear us? And I was like, what? I couldn't come up with something fast enough. But it was so fascinating, like seeing into the minds of students and hearing like what they say on the other end. So I was like, I don't want it to stop. I just want to know.
Oh man.
Because that's when the filter goes.
That's when like you really like.
About that.
That's how you get your
don't have to
feelings
worry
hurt.
about that with me. I have no one to work with. So.
You're like, I have nobody here to complain to in person. I have to do that at home. It's terrible.
She's gonna come in one day just bitching to herself. She's just not gonna be muted, and we're all gonna hear it. So she's having a-
I've always thought it's a very interesting thing in society, like
She'll know right now, though. She'll hear the echo.
Huh?
She'll hear the echo. She'll know.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's something in society I've always thought that this sort of goes along with this, and a little bit like Wife of Bath as well. But like we want to believe that people can change, right? That's one of the things in our society. It's like we have self-help books and all kinds of stuff, like tons and tons of like self-help books, and like here's how you can live better, be better, that kind of stuff. You can change, but I don't think that a lot of us actually believe that people are capable of change. Like, we'll always judge people on their past actions going like way, way back. Like, for example, and this is not even that far back, but like, did y'all hear about Justin Trudeau, like the Canadian Prime Minister? Apparently I guess it was weird they said brown face, not black face. Is that like a different way that they say it in Canada or something?
But I saw another one that said blackface today.
And a blackface, you saw blackface today?
Yeah, and before it said brown.
And I haven't seen it, so I don't know if he was doing it as like part of a costume or whatever. Like, I don't know what the meaning behind it was or why he was doing it. One time I made a video on my phone, like I was trying to be representative and diverse, and I made a video and I was going to show it in my English class. I used those memojis. You ever seen those on like the iPhones? Where it's like an emoji thing that attaches itself to your facial movements. And then,
Animoji?
yeah, Animoji, that's what it is. Yeah, thank you. So the Animoji, I tried to like make an Animoji video where I represented different groups. I did like an old man, like a dude in a cowboy hat. I did a black guy. I did a rich, like Monopoly looking dude. And all of them I did. And then there was one voice. I was like, I better make sure I had this voice be like just neutral. And it was the black guy, of course. I had to like make sure that I wasn't sounding racist or anything. And every time I'd watch the video, it didn't matter how many times I watched the video, I felt like I was being racist. I wasn't saying anything racist, wasn't doing anything racist, and I ultimately decided not to show the video because I asked my wife about it, and she said, it's kind of weird when you're the black guy. I said, I know, I feel the same way. Like, it feels like I'm appropriating something, even though I wasn't trying to, and I wasn't doing anything stereotypical. It just felt wrong. And, like, I don't know, there's something about that. It's like you feel, it's just, it doesn't matter, like, some people might think that something is not bad when it does, like, it can come across as bad no matter how hard you try to make it fair. So I don't know anything about the Trudeau situation yet other than he did it. But 17, 18 years ago when he did, I think it was 2001, they said, even though he might seem like he's a good prime minister now, we look at that thing that he did a long time ago and think that's it. Or like with Brett Kavanaugh, this thing he, had party in the 80s, like something he did at the party in the 80s. They say like that's what we should judge him on now.
He just got more sexual allegations though on him.
Yeah, he did get more sexual allegations against him. And it was, yeah. This one was like, I think he would pull his stuff out at parties or something like that and like put it in people's faces or something, or like near them, or I don't know, was the allegation this time. But we look at that in the past and we say, he's not capable of change. He's the same personality he was then. Because I think that much like the ITV phenomenon, where like if somebody doesn't realize their mic is not muted, they'll be honest and like say what they're really feeling to the person next to them, and you're like, this is like, we'll never get this ever again. We have to like take use of it now while we can. They'll be like, wait, are we muted? And then they'll realize and they'll mute it. But like, if we could just see what people are doing when we know they think nobody's looking, then we know how they truly are. But it's the one thing that would help us definitively decide whether or not somebody really had changed, and the one thing we'll never, ever get. Because not only that, we have a heavy need for the right to privacy in this country, don't we? So if somebody violates our privacy, like if somebody like say like, is he really changing? Let's check in on him. Oh, he's really different now. But it even feels wrong to us, like if somebody like cheats on somebody, like to have that person have unfettered access to their phone every time after that, so they can make sure they're not cheating. Even that just feels kind of icky to us, because we're like, a phone's a private place generally, isn't it?
Well, you broke
Or you
somebody's
take-
trust. I mean,
True. So like you need that, but then you still like beyond just the phone, you want to know like where is that person at all times and that sort of thing, and like you still don't fully trust them because you can't get into their head and know what they're thinking. You can't see what they're doing when nobody's looking. So I always find that like a fascinating phenomenon, and that's the night too. We don't fully know the knight has changed until we see what he would do if nobody else is looking. Would he still rape somebody if he was in a position to? Maybe. Was it? And we feel like he still could. We don't feel like he's repentant. We don't see any evidence that he's actually changed, and it makes it hard to believe that he really has. So we feel like he gets rewarded for his actions.
He wasn't punished at all, though.
He what?
He wasn't punished.
Sure, he never even gets punished. So that's part of the problem. It's kind of like those who have me in 1301. I showed that Philip Zimbardo video about like how good people go wrong, people become evil, and he talks about like the Stanford prison experiment where like the guards, the kids who had like their graduate students, and some of them become guards and some of them become prisoners, and they're like the guards end up having the prisoners end up having emotional breakdowns in like 36 hours or something. Talks about like the Stanley Milgram experiment where like they get people to like electrocute a stranger or whatever, and like in that whole video, like he's talking about all this stuff. But I think what happened was he was part of that Stanford prison experiment, realized later that it was like a huge ethical problem, the study that he did, and he was a part of something that is now listed, I think still today, as one of the top 10 most unethical studies that was ever conducted because of the violations of like humanity that happened in it. And I think for the rest of his life, he's more or less been trying to make up for that mistake. He's been trying to continue his studies and take what he learned and still learn from it, despite the fact that it was pretty unethical. And we can sort of see that as a result, he's learned from that experience, he's tried to change from it. But not everybody else can resituate their whole life in a way that we really believe that this person's changed. I mean, shoot, even politicians, when somebody becomes a politician, we're like, well, maybe they just want to be able to get away with it. Because if you're in charge of the rules, that gives you a lot more freedom.
I feel like if the old hag wasn't an old hag and she was like pretty,
Yeah.
it would have been her probably.
Yeah, it would have sort of been right. The only reason he hasn't already tried with her is because she's this old hag, and I feel like we'd see him as repulsive if she was attractive. It's like, oh, well, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I'm willing to go. I'm down with that. What do you want? I'll give you anything you want. She's like, well, I'll tell you later. He's like, marry me. He's like, done. Gladly. You know, he would have been like more than willing because she wasn't an old hag.
Mm-hmm.
God, this story is still just so infuriating to me. Yes.
I kind of thought that, like, it didn't seem like the wife of Bath was, like, telling the tale to me. Like, cause I was like, how would she, like, let that happen? And, like, when the girl turned pretty, I thought that she was, like, gonna make him stay with the ugly person, because when she, like, in her real life, when she was little, she had to stay with oldness. I thought she would do the opposite for him. So I was like, when that didn't happen, I was like, well, why would she let that happen? Like, why would she let him have a happy ending like that? And I know you were saying, like, oh, we were focusing on, like, the man.
Yeah.
But, like, if she would elaborate more on what happened afterward, like, if she was saying that she did take control of him, I would have seen it.
Yeah. Oh, and I was literally just listing different possibilities. So I can see, I didn't necessarily think that. And I kind of am on board with what you're saying. Like, we don't really see any consequences afterwards. We don't see anything that happens after that, so we don't really know. And not reading it as the wife of Bath, and that's her saying it, is, I think, just as valid as reading it as Chaucer himself. It's like, because we don't really know. And that's what so is everybody still infuriated with the ending of the story? Like, I'm still, like, I don't feel any better about it. Like, I can explain it away 100 different ways, and I still never feel any better about it. I still feel like it just pisses me off that the knight gets away with it. It's like, not the same level of anger, but like that, what was that kid, the affluenza kid? Or like he was like, they argued in court that he'd always been so rich, he'd never had to deal with
It's
consequences.
ridiculous. And they made up that whole disease because.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, it's a disease that I never think that consequences should apply to me because I've always been a part of privilege. And literally, like, a guy let him off because he was like, oh, this poor kid doesn't understand anything because he has so much privilege. Poor privileged kid. I was like, what am I even watching? Like, what is happening? And then the kid does exactly what you think he would do, which is get drunk again. And he's not even supposed to drink.
And his mom too.
Yeah, and then the mom's like, get him out of the country, which they can afford. Because, and I'm like, is nothing going to happen to these people? I was just like, what is going on?
She's in
And he
jail now.
killed a whole car full of people driving drunk, and he
She's
got
in
off.
jail now.
Yeah, she's in jail now.
It's like with the Brock Turner, the judge let him off.
Yeah. But, like, he has athletic capability. Like, who cares?
So do half the people in the prison, yet they're still in the prison.
Oh, it's kind of like there was another thing that happened. Oh man, what was the thing that happened recently with like the judge deciding about? It was really good. Hold on, or it's like still in the process, but it was like a group of people, or like a place. Damn it, what were we talking about before? Affluenza kid. Okay. Oh, I feel like sometimes we get really angry about stuff that I'm like, didn't we already kind of know this is happening? How are we even pissed off about this? Like the rich people getting their kids into schools they didn't deserve to be in, and they're going to jail. I'm like, why are we caring about this? Like, it's like, they're not even the worst rich people. Like,
my husband says they've been doing that for years.
well, not only that, it's a couple of actresses, and I'm like, but they're new money. They're normal people who had a talent and managed to get money, and now they want to use that money to do better by their kids. Who wouldn't do that? I'm just like,
Well, and
It's illegal.
a lot of things are illegal, but the richest people get away with
When
it.
you see the video of one of their daughters, I think it's the little girl from Full House.
Yeah.
Her daughter, and she was like, "I'm not going to school for like education, just to have parties and have fun." It makes you think of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Y'all have a good one.